Okay, first and foremost, I'd like to give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Ruach HaKodesh, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Today we're going to be continuing with the book of Isaiah. So we're on chapter 8. Alright, we'll just jump right into it. It says Damascus and Samaria fall. Moreover, the Lord, Yahweh, said unto me, Take thee a great roll, and write in it with a man's pen concerning Maher-shalal-hash-baz. Right, and when we look into his name, one of the sons of Isaiah, says Maher-shalal-hash-baz. Swift as booty, speedy as prey, a symbolic name given by Isaiah by the Lord's direction to Isaiah's son, prophetic indication that Damascus and Samaria were soon to be plundered by the king of Assyria. Right, so this son of Isaiah, his name was a prophecy on the Assyrian king coming up against Damascus and Samaria, or the northern kingdom and Syria. So verse 2, And I took unto me faithful witnesses to record Uriah the priest and Zechariah the son of Jeberechiah. Right, so they're taking note. Right, they're recording. And I went unto the prophetess, and she conceived and bare a son. Then said the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai to me, call his name Maher-shalal-hash-baz. Right? Now it says, and I went unto the prophetess, being what? That's referring to Isaiah, going in unto his wife. And she conceived and bare a son. Then said the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai to me, call his name Maher-shalal-hash-baz. For before the child shall have knowledge to cry, my father and my mother. Right, so before he's old enough to tell the difference between his parents, right, and old enough to recognize his parents, what's going to happen? The riches of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria shall be taken away before the king of Assyria. Right, so this is a sign that the Lord is giving, right, by way of this son of Isaiah, saying that before this child is old enough to recognize his parents, the spoil of Samaria shall be taken away, as well as Damascus, be taken away before the king of Assyria, right? And that king at the time being Tiglath-Pileser. Pileser, I think is how you pronounce his name, right? And we read that in the book of 2 Kings. This is 2 Kings chapter 16, verse 5. Then Rezin, king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, came up to Jerusalem to war, and they besieged Ahaz, but could not overcome him. At that time, Rezin, king of Assyria, recovered Elath to Syria, and drave the Jews from Elath. And the Syrians came to Elath and dwelt there unto this day. Ahaz seeks help of Aram. So Ahaz sends messengers to Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, saying, I am thy servant and thy son. Come up and save me out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and out of the hand of the king of Israel, which rise up against me. And remember in the previous chapter how, Isaiah was coming to Ahaz, pretty much telling him to rely on the Lord, right? And Ahaz was kind of, negligent. And that's because what? He ended up going to, the king of Assyria for help. He went to man for help instead of to the Lord. And that's what we're reading here. How he's seeking help from, the Assyrians. And Ahaz took the silver and gold that was found in the house of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai, and in the treasures of the king's house, and set it for a present to the king of Assyria. And the king of Assyria hearkened unto him, for the king of Assyria went up against Damascus, and took it, and carried the people of it captive to and slew Rezin. Right, so you have Damascus falling, as we just read what happened in Isaiah. And going back a chapter, down here, verse 29, straight to the point. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and took Aijalon and Abel Beth Maachah, and Janoah, and Kadesh, and Hazar, and Gilead, and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria. All right, so we're reading how the Assyrians did what? Going back to Isaiah. The riches of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria shall be taken away before the king of Assyria. And we just read how that happened. So verse 5. The Lord Yahweh spake also unto me again, saying, For as much as this people refuseth the waters of Shiloah, that go softly, and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son, being Pekah, the king of Assyria, the king of Israel, Salakia, at the time. Right, so what is he saying? It says, For as much as this people refuseth the waters of Shiloah that go softly, and Shiloah was like a stream of water in Jerusalem, right? Refuses the waters of Shiloah that go softly, and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son, which is speaking, to the northern kingdom, right? And the Lord is basically saying, since they refuse the peace, right, like the liken unto the soft waters of Shiloah, and they rejoice in these wicked people and follow after them, he's going to do what? Now therefore, behold, the Lord bringeth up upon them the waters of the river, strong and many, even the king of Assyria, in all his glory, and he shall come up over all his channels and go over all his banks. Right, so since y'all refuse to calm, the soft, the gentle waters, the peace, right, the Shiloah, I'm going to bring the rough waters, the floods, right, which is being likened unto the king of Assyria, and his glory, his army, right, the Assyrians. They're likened unto, a flood water overflowing everything, right? And he shall come up over all his channels and go over all his banks. Right, so that's what the Lord brought, because they refused the calm, right, the soft. Verse 8, and he shall pass through Judah. He shall overflow and go over. He shall reach even to the neck. And the stretching out of his wings shall feel the breath of thy land, O Emmanuel. Right, because the Assyrians, when they pretty much took over all of that over there in the Levant. Right, but it says, and he shall pass through Judah, he shall overflow and go over, he shall reach even to the neck. So the Assyrians, they would do a lot of damage, but they wouldn't completely consume Judah. It's like, you're in a pool, right? You keep going, keep getting to the deeper end. All right, so Salakia for the interruption, but as I was saying, you're in a pool and you keep going to the lower end. You had the deeper end, the deeper end, the deeper end, to the point where what? Your head is sticking out of the water, right? And that's what it's being likened unto. Israel wasn't completely consumed. Well, Jerusalem wasn't completely consumed, right? Because the Assyrians is likened unto that overflowing water. Judah didn't get it as bad as Israel did. The southern kingdom didn't get it as bad as the northern kingdom did. Right, basically half of the northern kingdom was annexed, was taken out of the land. When it says, and he shall come, Salakia, and the stretching out of his wings shall feel the breath of thy land. Basically saying how he take over everything, O Emmanuel, right? Meaning God with us, the Most High with us, signifying how the Lord would still be with his people. a believing remnant. Verse 9, associate yourselves, O ye people, and ye shall be broken in pieces, and give ear, all ye of far countries. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Right, so here, Isaiah kind of switches up the tone, right? He's boasting in the Lord, right? Saying, associate yourselves, O ye people, and you shall be broken into pieces, right? So y'all can get together, but you're still gonna be broken into pieces, right? And give ear, all ye far countries, right? So listen up, all y'all. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken into pieces, right? So gear up, put on all y'all armor and whatnot, and you still gonna be broken into pieces, right? And he even doubles down and says that, gird yourselves, and you shall be broken into pieces. Gird yourselves, and you shall be broken into pieces, right? That emphasis. Take counsel together, and it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand, for the Most High is with us, right? Emmanuel. So it says, take counsel together, and it shall come to naught, right? So y'all plans not coming to fruition. Whatever y'all get together and devise, that shit's not coming to pass. Speak the word, and it shall not stand, for the Most High is with us, right? So whatever y'all got in mind is not going to stand. Why? Because the Most High is with us. Verse 11, for the Lord Yahweh spake thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, right? So it says, for the Lord spake thus to me with a strong hand, going into the severity, the seriousness, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, right? So don't follow the ways of these wicked Israelites. Yeah, you're among them, but don't be like them, right? Just like how now we're in this world, but we're not of it, where we walk through by the Spirit, not the flesh. But as it says, saying, there's a comma right there, so it's continuing. It's a continuation. Say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. Right, so say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy. And confederacy being like an alliance. Right, so don't align yourselves with those they align with. Don't align with who the wicked aligns with, right? Because ultimately, they're going to align with more wicked. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. So ultimately, what the Lord's telling him is, just don't be like the wicked Israelites. Don't be nothing like them. Verse 13. Sanctify the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread, right? Because through the fear of the Lord, it gets you to act right. Proverbs chapter 9 verse 10, the fear of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. So the fear of the Lord is that beginning of the wisdom to do right, the wisdom to walk in righteousness, the wisdom to follow after him. Right, so the Lord's telling Isaiah, let me be your fear. And that's ultimately mercy from the Lord. Because if you're fearing him, then you're doing the right things to bring yourself salvation. Verse 14, and he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Now here, this is really a prophecy of who? The Messiah, our Savior, Yahushai. It's speaking about the Lord, the Most High. But this happened through his Son, Yahushai. It says, and he shall be for a sanctuary, right? In which for the believers, Yahushua is a sanctuary. But for a stone of stumbling and for a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel. Right, so the whole house. For a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Right, and this was what? This was pretty much, the meat of the New Testament that we read about. Right? You had the Yahushua and how righteousness was no longer through the law. Right? But that faith and belief on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. That became a stumbling block unto many. Right? And the fact that, through him, the Gentiles, the Israelite foreigners, were being brought back to the Lord as well. That really became a stumbling block unto who? The southern kingdom. But ultimately he was a stumbling block to, as it says, both houses. Alright, so let's get Romans chapter 9. Here in verse 3. What shall we say then? That the Gentiles which followed not after righteousness have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith. But Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, have not attained to the law of righteousness. Why was that? Verse 32, wherefore? Because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law, for they stumbled at that stumbling stone. Right? Because through Yahushua, it was by faith. That righteousness, that salvation came through faith, not by the law. But they were brought up on the law. So when Yahushua came, he became that stumbling block for many. For they stumbled at that stumbling stone, as it is written, behold, I lay in Zion a stumbling stone and a rock of offense, and whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. Apostle Paul is referencing Isaiah. And what? Yahushua would be that sanctuary to those who believe on him. Right, so going back to Isaiah. And many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken. This is verse 15. Right. And many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and be snared and be taken. Right, and ultimately this would be who? The people who reject Yahushua. The people who reject his gospel, his teachings. Right? Luke chapter 2 verse 34. It says, and Simeon blessed them and said unto Mary his mother, behold, this child is set for the fall and rising again of many in Israel, and for a sign which shall be spoken against. Right, so just speaking of Yahushua, right, letting them know what Yahushua was for. What? This child is set for the fall and rising again of many in Israel. Right? He was that stumbling block. But going back, verse 16, bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. Right? And remember what? Isaiah took witnesses to record this testimony. Remember Uriah and Zechariah, right? Right, Uriah the priest and Zechariah the son of Berechiah. Right, so he took them as witnesses to record this testimony. So he's telling them to seal it up, right? And it would only be for the believers in his time, but of course, us now as well. It's only for those the Lord puts the Spirit on to believe. Verse 17, and I will wait upon the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, that hideth his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him. Right, and that's ultimately what us in His truth are doing. We're waiting on the Lord. We're looking for him. We're reaching out to him, turning back to him. Behold, I and the children whom the Lord hath given me are for signs and for wonders in Israel from the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth in Mount Zion. Right? And this was a literal thing. The children that, well, obviously Isaiah himself, he was a prophet, right? Prophesying the signs was to come. But his children were also signs, right? As we just read the first, not the first one, but the second one, the one we read about at the beginning, Maharshala Hashbaz, what he was a sign of the Assyrians coming in, coming up against Samaria and Damascus. And then you had the first one, it was like Jasharab, something like that. Salakia. I'm pretty sure in the Hebrew it was like Shariyashwab, right? Shir Jashub, this is here, right here. Shir Jashub, that son, the conduit. Let's look into this. Shir Jashub. Shariyashwab. Right? A remnant shall return, right? A symbolical name for the son of Isaiah the prophet, right? So this one was a sign of there being a remnant. So it says, behold, I and the children whom the Lord hath given me are for signs and for wonders in Israel from the Lord of hosts which dwelleth in Mount Zion. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their God, for the living to the dead? Right, so when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, unto wizards that peep and that mutter, going into what? People like, necromancers, those who try to contact the dead and whatnot. Should not a people seek unto their God, for the living to the dead? Right, so as it says here, for the living to the dead, is saying, so if the dead are dead, basically, why are you seeking advice from the dead concerning the living? Right, shouldn't the people seek advice from their God? Shouldn't they seek unto their God? To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Right, so if they speak not according to the ways the Lord has instructed us, it's because they don't have that light of the Lord in them, right? They have that darkness. And they shall pass through it, hardly be stead and hungry. And it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward. It says, and they shall pass through it, hardly be stead and hungry. Right, so they're going to go through the Lord's judgment harshly, right? That's what it means by hardly be stead and hungry. And it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward. Right, so as they're going through this judgment, going through the hard times, they're going to get mad, right? And curse the idols and the kings that led them to that state, and look upward. So so they're going to be looking up into the heavens, and they shall look unto the earth and behold trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness. Right, so they're looking upward. They're looking unto the earth, looking about, trying to seek for help, trying to seek for aid, amidst this trouble. Right? But instead, what are they going to find? And behold, trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness. Right? So they're going to be looking for help. Instead, they're going to find darkness. They're going to find more trouble. Right? But they brought that upon themselves. So yeah, that's, Isaiah chapter 8. A quick summary, what it speaks about, Damascus and Samaria falling to the king of Assyria, right? Then Isaiah transitions into boasting about the power of the Lord, pretty much saying how anyone who tries to come up against his people, they aren't going to prevail, if the Lord doesn't want them to, that is, right? Then it goes into what, that prophecy of the Messiah, how he's going to be a sanctuary for that remnant, right? Those who believe. Right, and it just goes back into more judgment. So with that being said, and what's more, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakah HaKodash, and double honors to the apostles and others of Great Millstone, and shalom to the hopeful elect.